Shelley Young, owner of the Chopping Block, and today I'm going to teach you how to bake a potato and make choice baked potatoes out of that. The first step is selecting your potatoes. For a baked potato, we generally use a russet or an Idaho potato. Those potatoes have a higher water content, and so when we bake them in the oven, the potatoes tend to get real fluffy and airy, so which is a texture that we like in our baked potatoes and our twice baked potatoes. So the first step is baking them. The first thing I'm going to do is rub a little oil on the potatoes. I'm using grapeseed oil today. You can use butter. Some people will use, I've worked in restaurants where we had leftover duck fat from rendering ducks, and we would rub duck fat on it, tallow, anything you want, you really can just put on here. It's all delicious. So depending on what I'm going to do, I'll put different seasonings on the outside of these potatoes. For my baked potatoes, you can just put salt, and you can put pepper on it as well. You can put seasoning mix. You can do all kinds of things. People think of them as relatively plain, but you can spice it up. Today I'm going to use, I'm using kosher salt because it sticks a little bit better. And I'm putting it on like this, but I'm going to rub it around the potato. And I'm putting a lot on it. If you like the skin, you know why we should do this, because it makes the skin taste delicious. A little bit of black pepper. I'm going to rub this on, pop it in the oven at 375 until they're tender, about an hour. So our potatoes have cooled off enough for me to handle. Again, I like to keep them still pretty warm so I can get the flesh out easier, but also when I'm mixing in all the yummy fillings, they're going to melt a lot easier. So I just cut a little section off the top. Carefully take a spoon. See how hot it still is? And scoop the flesh out, just leaving enough in there that it holds the form of the potato together. If you take out too much flesh, then it won't hold its shape. The potato won't hold its shape anymore. And I'm going to do this to all the potatoes. So I'm using a stand mixer today to mix the filling. You can just use a hand mixer. You can even do it with a potato masher. If you don't mind more of a lumpy texture, which is really yummy too. I don't think it really matters one way or another. The only advantage to whipping it is it's easier to put it through a pastry bag if you choose to do that. So I have my potato filling. I'm going to put that into my mixer. And here I have a stick of unsalted butter, a cup of sour cream, and a cup of grated cheddar, sharp cheddar cheese. I'm going to stick that in there as well. Start on a low. My butter and cheese are pretty well incorporated. Just a little extra cheese in here, but that'll be fine. We're going to add some salt, pepper, and chives. I'm going to start with about a teaspoon of salt. We'll taste it and see if we need a little bit more. Make sure you measure that. Probably about a half teaspoon of fresh cracked pepper or so. And I have chives here. This is about 3 tablespoons. I'm going to use about half of it and save half for the top. I'm going to check it for salt and pepper specifically. I think it's good. You could add some more salt if you wanted to. It's really to your taste. I also had some milk on the side here in case it was too thick. This It doesn't need any. It's like the perfect consistency. I don't even need to put that back in the potato. I'm just eat that right there. I'm going to use a pastry bag and put the filling in here. This is called an open star tip. I would use that versus ones that are closed because the food would otherwise get stuck in the tube. You can also just take a teaspoon and put it in into the potato. You don't have to use a pastry bag. The trick to a pastry bag, if you've never done this before, is you fold it over and use your hand like this. You want to make sure that you fold it over so that you don't get all of the potato or whatever you're putting in your pastry bag up in the top. See how I do this? I just use my hand, wipe it in the bag like so. So I've loaded my bag. You take it back up like this and you twist it here. The trick to using a pastry bag is you squeeze from here, not from here. This is where you run into all kinds of problems. But this takes a little practice. The other tricky thing, it's a little bit like deviled eggs. How much filling per cup, or per potato here? Because you might not get it right and put too little in the first one or too much, So I'm just going to take a good guess. I keep twisting the top of the bag as I squeeze, pushing the contents down that way. My left hand is just guiding the pastry bag. So we fill the potatoes. I'm going to pop them in a 400-degree oven for about 10-15 minutes. This potato is still really warm on the inside. Twice-baked potatoes can be made ahead of time. It's great for a party. If I was going to do that, they'll take a little longer to bake and I'd use a lower temperature, more in the 350 range for probably 30 minutes. So we pulled our twice-baked potatoes out of the oven. I saved a little bit of chives, as you remember, for a garnish. Isn't that beautiful? Toasty brown, perfect to serve with my steak, my pork chop, nice chicken breast. And that is how you make twice-baked potato.